welcome.
Right. Welcome, Zalima.
Yeah. Today's Zalema is, well, not really a Zalema, actually. Well,
It just kind of is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Galentine's
Galentine's.
Day. So today, it's our Galentine's Day episode. Valentine's Day is right around the corner. But more importantly, Galentine's Day. I like Galentine's Day, and not because, I don't know, I just have had more Galentine's Days than Valentine's Days.
Where are we without our gals?
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly. Because, I mean, for there to be Galentine's Day, there has to be not the issue of men, but just like...
We can call it the issue.
Yeah, we can call it the issue of men, because...
Sorry to our male listeners.
Yeah. This is not a male bashing podcast. It's had some interesting
Even in just the past few months, I mean, every time I download Hinge or Bumble, I have a new experience that I didn't think I would ever go through.
And I love hearing about these experiences.
Yeah.
I have fun stickers because of them.
Oh, yes. My latest, I guess, weirdest thing that has happened to me was a few weeks ago, I went on a date with a guy, and, you know, it was fine. We went on, like, a second date. I mean, I don't think, like, sparks were flying or anything, but he was telling me how he didn't have social media, which I was like, you know, good for you, man. Good for you.
I personally, I mean, I know you said that a green flag in men is not having social media.
A low presence.
Low presence. And then you clarify as a low presence, and I agree.
Yeah.
Low presence is not bad, but if you have zero social media...
No, that's a bit of a red flag.
That is
like, absolutely nothing. Like,
flag.
not even a LinkedIn. Like, no.
Yeah.
We love a career-driven man. But... no, so yeah, he was like, I have absolutely no social media. And I was like, I mean, okay. He was like, but what I'd like to do is I have a Google album that I have uploaded photos to since I was like in middle school that I share with all my friends so that they can like keep up with my life. And I was like, cool, like you do you, man. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, because I didn't really care. But I got home after the date, and he had texted me and was like, I had a great time meeting you. Here's my Google album if you want to check it out. And I was like, I mean, that's kind of sweet, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to, like, share his little photos with me or whatever. And mind you, we hadn't even, like, kissed at this point or anything.
He considers you to be, if he shared it with his friends, considered to be, you know,
exactly.
like it going somewhere enough to, you know.
Yeah, he was like, I want to show you my life instead of, because since we couldn't stalk each other on social media.
Yeah.
Which is, you know.
I love to do that. I love to stalk. I'd like do that with my friends too. You know, like just like, oh, if I haven't like, especially if it's like long distance.
Right.
Friends,
sometimes I just want to look at them and be like,
yeah.
my Shayla. No. But no, yeah. So I opened the Google album. I'm like scrolling. I'm like, yeah, I like pretty typical middle school boy stuff. But then like I keep scrolling and like, bam, a nude. And I was like, holy shit.
But not a typical.
Not a typical nude. He was like doing what do you call it, like bodybuilding poses, and he had like an anime sticker over his junk.
Nothing wrong with anime. I love anime.
No, I love anime as well, but if you put it over your junk while doing a bodybuilding pose, I consider that a red flag. And I was like, that's interesting. You know, one maybe he didn't realize was in there. I don't know. I keep scrolling. Bam! Another one. This one with a flower over his junk. And another one. But this one had an entire anime backdrop. And another one. But this time, he was just in a shower with his hands over his junk. I was like, okay, this is too much... almost like reverse dick pics. I don't know. I don't know what you call this, but I felt very uncomfortable. I was like, there's no way he didn't know that all of these photos were in this album that he just shared with someone he went on 2 dates with and barely knows. Anyway, the weirdest part to me was you can see like how many people he had shared the album with.
Yeah.
It was shared with like 16 of his friends, like guys and girls. And he was like, this is so they can keep up with my life. So like how, I was like, so you're like,
I don't want to keep up with that part of your life if we're
your
friends.
nudes are part of the life that you want them to keep up with? I don't know. It struck me as very odd, and I ended up just being like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
I don't know. I just freaked out. But that was probably the weirdest thing that has happened to me recently on dates.
Yeah. I mean, like, I can't say recently because, like, it's just, like, a whole interesting thing of, like, I mean, not weird stuff. But, like, in the past, when I was, like, dating, again, a handful of people.
Yeah, Gigi's not in the trenches anymore, guys.
Not a, what was it? Yeah, I've had some interesting date stories in the past. I will say, I was telling her this earlier, and I was like, oh, I mean, I've had some interesting dates. Like, I went out with a guy, and again, nothing against tattoos. I personally don't have any tattoos. Not that I don't want any, and I won't say I won't get one in the future, but I just don't have any tattoos. Who knows if that will change? And again, nothing against people with tattoos or anything, but like I went out with this guy who had like a tattoo like right above his eyebrow. I'm not gonna say what the tattoo was.
I think that we can all safely say that face tats are different than just a regular tattoo.
Yes. He had tattoos all over his body, but he had like one right above his eyebrow, like near his forehead. And on our first date he wore like a headband where I didn't see it, and then on the second date I like saw it, and I'm also pretty sure he was a drug dealer. I don't remember his name.
Face tat man,
yeah. No. But I will say, and it wasn't even the next one, it wasn't even the weirdest date that I went on. It's just that nothing against if you live at your parents' house, like nothing against that at all. But this guy, he lived with his parents, he didn't have a license. His mom drove him to where we had our first date on, and I mean,
his mom drove him to the date.
Yes.
Oh.
And I mean, when we went to the restaurant, and I was I'm always fully prepared to pay for myself.
I would have rather just Ubered.
I don't know, maybe he was like far from it. I don't really remember because this was like a couple years ago. And he like when he was paying for the meal, he was trying to figure out not even like figuring out the number of the tip, but just figuring out how to the process the end of like a receipt when you pay for your meal.
Okay.
I'm like, have you never paid for your meal?
Okay, I was gonna say I'm really bad at doing tips as well.
I take out my calculator. And I like do and all the time. And
you just meant like he didn't know how to pay a tip.
No, he didn't know how to like the signing the receipts, like what like the process. And I want to be sensitive of different experiences people have. But I will say, not reading the room, and he was like, oh, his mom was picking him up, like, do you want to meet my mom? She was just walking around the mall because we went to a restaurant at the mall.
So his mom was like waiting for him after the date to finish?
Correct. And he was like, would you like to meet my mom? And I said, no, thank you. And I'm like,
oh no, that's what my mom used to do for my dates in high school.
I didn't really date in high school. So that was interesting. But I mean, and that's not even...
I'm just going to run a few errands while you have your dinner, sweetie.
And, I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but he told me that he was on the spectrum.
I guess that does change things a bit.
Yeah. And I was like, and not in a mean way, but like, I gathered that. And not because of like, me just being cruel, because I have experience with it. So I clocked it like before,
You're like, oh. You don't have to explain yourself.
And I was like, oh no. And he like on the second date he told me, and I was thinking to myself like, oh no, I picked up on that one. And
wait, you went on another date.
Hey. No judgments here. Actually, I mean, he was super nice. And
no, I know. I went on 2 dates with a guy who sent me a Google album of nudes. So anyway.
But the thing that, and this is my own weirdness, the thing that like really like I was done and I was like, oh no, I do not like this man. It was that he went and saw a movie, and I have this weird thing where I don't like people to temper my expectations of any movie. Like all I want to know is if like, did you like it? And that's the extent of it. If you didn't like it, I don't want to hear about it. So he was telling me about it, and I was like thinking, he's like, I'm not going to spoil it, but then proceeds to like, tell me different things and temper my expectations. And I was like, oh no, this is where I draw the line. Don't tell me about the movie. And I said I was super excited to see it. He was just an interesting man, a really interesting man. And I'm not going to lie, but I didn't ghost him. I did like actually have a conversation with him.
We're anti-ghosting in this podcast. Yeah. Unless you're in danger. I try not to ghost people because I know how upset I get when I get ghosted, but also I understand that sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
And if it's a mutual ghost, that happens too as well.
But that was like a couple years ago, and I've like, like there are a handful of men that I like actually tolerate, and I like to focus on like my friends and like my gal pals.
Yeah.
So
I think it's weird because like I like enough men to be like friends with men, but there's very few men that I would actually want to have like a romantic connection with. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like, it makes sense.
I don't know how to describe it.
I get that.
But I know what you're saying. Like you're like just like the final straw is just something completely random.
Yeah.
Like what was it? Him spoiling the movie for you or something?
Yeah.
It wasn't that his mom dropped him off. It was that he spoiled the movie.
Yeah. No, what does that say about me? Because I don't know, but yeah. But since this is the Galentine's Day episode, and it's not about the romance of Valentine's Day, I feel like Galentine's Day, like when that comes around, it makes me just like renews the idea of how I want to romanticize my life, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
And I see all these things on Instagram where I'm like, I see like people getting flowers from like Trader Joe's, and
I love that. I started doing that and you inspired me, actually.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to, well, I need to get back into that because I would, every other week, and I would get eucalyptus to put in my eucalyptus leaves, and it would eventually dry out to put in my shower. Actually, I think I ended up doing that like once every month, and then I would get like fresh flowers. I would do like, at one point, I mean, sometimes I would get flowers from the farmer's market, and sometimes I would just get like the same type of flowers from Trader Joe's, and I'd just do an arrangement, and I'd have them for 2 weeks. Also, Trader Joe's, not a plug for Trader Joe's. We don't have sponsors.
Okay,
yet.
but Trader Joe's does slap, and
It does.
you know, that is unendorsed. That's just my personal opinion.
There are so many, yeah, I agree. There are so many things about Trader Joe's that I love. I love their like hash brown patties. I love their shrimp dumplings. Their meat is really good. And then people say like the best combination if you're balling on a budget. I don't know, like sometimes
I'm balling on a budget.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I go on tangents, but they say the best combination to do things is, what is it? You do Trader Joe's for meat and then Aldi's for produce.
I did not know that.
Is what some people say. I've been to Aldi's and I do like Aldi's and they have good prices, but
I'm an Aldi's gal myself.
yeah, I mean like, but the only thing is like there is just like so much stuff that I'm not gonna eat all of it, and two, I just had issues with like just peeled produce where it just like has gotten moldy while it was still in the bag.
Aldi's is just so bare bones. Like you get like basics there,
right?
But there's no like joy in it.
Yeah.
Like you go to Trader Joe's and there's flowers and like plants and like cute stuff to look at.
Yeah.
Sort of like Target. Aldi's is like it's like a communist era cell block.
I feel that.
Yes.
Is that bad to say because it's like a European brand store?
Wait, I didn't know that.
It is. It's European. So like Aldi's and Lidl, I believe Aldi's is like
Lidl's
European.
is cute though, or am I wrong?
I love Lidl's.
Yeah.
I love their, I mean, it feels like Aldi's, but you know what the difference is? That they have a bakery section. And the bakery section.
Yeah. And Aldi's is just, I think they're so bare bones because like that's how they keep their stuff so dirt cheap.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you literally bag your own groceries.
Yeah, well, that's true. And you have to pay for the bags.
For the bags,
if you buy them.
Yeah.
And the carts. Also, am I a bad person? Because one time when I was at Aldi's and...
Did you steal a cart?
No. I brought my quarter specifically for the cart. And I was about to put it back and the guy was like, oh, can I have that cart? And I was like, I want my quarter back.
And you were not paying it forward.
No, I wasn't. I wanted my quarter back. And and in the moment I felt
You were like,
bad.
in this economy?
Yes. In this economy. I felt bad because I'm in like.
What did he say? Like, what did he do?
I don't remember. I think I blocked it out of my memory because I felt so bad. But I'm just
So
at
funny.
the in between of like I'm trying to be like more assertive, but also still kind because at my heart and at my core, I feel as though I'm a kind person, and maybe just like trying to like switch from being nice to kind, you know?
I agree with that. I think
because there's a difference between being nice and being kind.
And being like a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I think I've told you this, I'm actively a reformed people pleaser. You know?
Yeah. I'm working on that too. I just think that like when you live your life when you're living your life for other people and doing things for other people, I mean like the amount of happiness you're giving them is so small. Right. But the amount of sadness you're giving yourself is so much.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah. And I can't take credit for that, guys. I've read that on Reddit somewhere. So, but anyway, I was like, that's profound.
Yeah, that is
And,
profound.
I don't know, they were just like, yeah, they started living for themselves, and people, if they don't get what they want out of you, they're going to be upset no matter what.
Oh.
And you're always going to be the villain if they aren't getting what they want out of your presence or your life or whatever. So always just do things that are the best for you. Obviously, you know, be kind and be a good friend and stuff like that, but don't do things that you clearly don't want to do or make you uncomfortable just because you don't want to make someone else slightly unhappy for a second.
Don't do things that will just continue to empty your cup without having your cup filled.
Yes.
Because like the testament of like I think like good friendships is like the reciprocality of it. Yeah. Is like, I mean, it's not always on that one person is the person that's continually reaching out, or the person that's like, you know, continuously like, oh, I'm like And people go through things, not to say like, not to call someone like needy or anything, but like just like the reciprocalness.
50, like
Yeah,
if a relationship isn't 50-50, and I realize, I mean, platonically, romantically, honestly, any relationship, if you're not putting in equal effort, and I realize like some people go through things and sometimes someone is putting in like a little more effort than the other, but usually it evens out because everyone goes through times that ebb and flow.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, you're putting in equal effort into the friendship. And something that I have learned or have been trying to learn is that not every friendship gives you that like 50-50 like effort that you need. And it's not that you don't really need to cut people off necessarily, because not everyone is going to fill like every niche that you have. But some people are just kind of like group hang friends, like you see them in a group and like they're not going to be the person that you like go to and ask for help because they really don't care that much, for lack of a better word. But like, it's just like, I guess, tempering your expectations of certain friendships and like becoming more mature and realizing some people just don't care that much. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's,
for lack of a better word.
That's a really good point, because it's like one thing that I always like think to myself, like, would I hang out with this person on an individual level?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I can assess. I mean, that's not like a foolproof way of like assessing a friendship, but like, am I okay like hanging out with this person one-on-one? And then there's like other like qualities and other layers to it. And I mean, to your point of saying like, some like friendships, how did you put it? Like some friendships, like you don't get everything out of it, or you like assessing, or
I think it's unrealistic to like assume that every person is going to fill every single one of your needs.
Right.
But I think the point is like, if you're both giving equal effort into the relationship, and you're making sure that you're not just going to them with your problems, you're checking in and seeing how they're doing as well. Things like that. If they need help, you're willing to do a favor, but also like, don't let someone take advantage of your kindness and you're always doing things for them and you're never getting anything in return. So it's a balance, and it's something that I'm learning, and I think we're all still learning. And I don't think anybody, I mean, like even when I talk to like my mom about this, she's like in her like early 60s, and she's like, I mean, I still like struggle with this sometimes.
My mom, that's actually so true, because like my mom is also in her early 60s, and she's like said the exact same thing. She's like, sometimes like, because I've told her like what you were saying, like figuring it out and like growing and maturing is like realizing that like, I have had to not cut people off, or I don't want to say like, sometimes just setting boundaries, or actually
boundaries is good.
Setting boundaries, or more so distancing myself from that friendship. That's with friendships that I feel as though I'm like, that it's not reciprocal, and just like it's hard, and it's like, it's always developing, and like sometimes like, even though again, in the grand scheme of things, like we're young, we're in our 20s, and like sometimes I feel like in my head I'm like, oh man, I need to have XYZ figured out, and like friendships figured out, and like sometimes something will happen, I'm like, oh, I didn't expect this to happen with my friend, and I'm like, and I don't know, it just like takes me back to like when I was in like high school, and I'm like, oh gosh, I feel as though I didn't really have like a really good group of friends, and it's like, it's been getting better as I've gotten older, and I've just like, and it's so true, it's like a cliche, but people say like, the older you get, the smaller your circle gets, and it's so true, because I'm like, I want to put in more effort, and I like want to cherish and like, develop the friendships that I feel as though it's reciprocal, and that it's 50-50, and it's like, even though if it's not always even 50-50,
and
like
they
what
make
you say.
Feel good about yourself.
Exactly. Like, if you feel drained after you hang out with someone, is that like a good friendship?
It usually means it's not 50-50.
Exactly. And to your point of like, you're always like figuring it out. Like, again, my mom, like, I tell her things, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm trying to like, just making sure that I'm like doing XYZ with my friendships, and not like being quote unquote taken advantage of and stuff like that. Because I can give you a specific example, because being a reformed people pleaser, I feel like sometimes in certain situations, in certain people, sometimes in the past I felt like I'm overly considerate and overly caring, because if it's like, we live in a city, and like a good amount of our friends like live in like 20-30 minutes away, so and we live in the same city, and like we like hang out, but then sometimes we'll go and travel to see our other friends, and I'm the type of person where it's like, oh, like I'm here, and then the place we're gonna meet at is here. I'm actually gonna look up the distance for both of us, and see how far the distance is from them and from me. And then, so because like I'm like, I want to be considerate of like how far they're driving.
Right.
So like I know when we've hung out, like I will look. I think if it's like, I mean, we don't live that far away, so I don't think I've done that. But if we like lived further away from each other, I would definitely
Yeah, I think like I always try like say like what's in the middle that we can meet at or something, or like.
But there are some people that don't do that.
No,
some
there's a lot of people that don't do that.
Yeah, people will like suggest, and I'll be the bigger person of like suggesting something that's like further away from me than even like if I'm the one to suggest it first, or. And like me realizing like maybe this is not the best friendship, that they'll suggest something that's really close to them and really far from me, like knowing like, oh, you definitely didn't look this up, and like maybe that's an unrealistic expectation for me to have of people, like, and I think so, like, and I feel like that's me being a people pleaser of like, oh, that's an unrealistic expectation for me to have, but it's not, because I do it, you know?
Yeah, I will say I do feel like I'm usually the friend like driving to the location of the other friends, just because I'm a people pleaser and I never want to like put a wrench in the plans or anything like that. But I do appreciate when people are like, oh, you've come to this city like the past 6 times, like let's go to your city this time or something.
No, same. And those are the friendships that I want to like, you know, hone in on. And it's like, and it's not even, it's like more so like really a recent thing that I've like been developing. It's not even like a long time, couple of years. Like I'm just like, I'm still continuing to try and develop friendships like that, you know?
I totally agree. And I think, I mean, like you said, it's just something that you have to continue to develop. And I'm trying to be better at like setting like I like to call them like gentle boundaries, because I don't want to be like mean about it and like lash out, because a lot of people I feel like don't even realize that they do stuff like that. I just think that our generation is like very, I feel like we tend to be self-centered, if I'm honest.
No,
and I think that we're like raised to be that way almost now, especially with like the rise of like TikTok and like everyone's so self-absorbed with like what they're doing, what they look like we just lost that sort of community feeling. I don't know. It's more about like what do we look like to others. Maybe that was like a tangent a bit, but yeah, I don't know. Like I'll have friends that'll reach out whenever they have a problem, or then I've realized like, oh, they don't know what's going on in my life unless I specifically tell them. Like they only want me to know what's going on in their life when something's going wrong, because they want my advice or something and want someone to listen, which I am down to do. But it's like, once again, the 50-50. Am I getting that back? Like I want someone to show interest in my life back.
No, for sure.
You know?
I've definitely lashed out at people, and I'm like, so when you said that, and I was like thinking, oh dang, like I've definitely done that, and I'm like, but people have been using the term crash out, and I really don't like, I really don't like to use that to describe the situation, but I have definitely like had like a up reaction, and then I'm like, ooh, I feel bad about it, like, because it's people that I'm close to, and I'm like, ooh, I'm like, and I feel bad afterwards, and I'm like, try and like backtrack, and I'm like, oh, did they notice? I was like, they definitely noticed. And I'm like,
I think like though, like it's normal, like especially people who try to like do right by everybody, to be pushed to the brink until they kind of like snap or something, and don't necessarily want to say they're like when I say crash out, I'm imagining someone like throwing shit, like flipping a table or something, but just saying like snapping or getting upset or withdrawing, and people are like, I don't understand why they're upset. So just kind of like being better about like bringing up these things like as they upset you, I guess, which I don't know. I think people have an issue with confrontation these days. Like I think the go-to nowadays is to just be passive aggressive and hope that they notice, or just kind of like ghost them for a while or forever, and then, or each other just forever, and be like, well, I don't want to put any more effort into this friendship because I don't want to express how I feel, because I don't want to talk about it, because I don't want to confront my feelings or their feelings or whatever. And I think we as a generation just need to get better at confrontation, like healthy confrontation, like being like, hey, that hurt my feelings, and then allowing that discourse to happen, and then being like, oh, our friendship is stronger because of it. So,
I say that, but I'm like, I'm a sensitive gal.
No, I am too. I'm sensitive, and I'm trying to work on, you know, because like when you, I know that like I'm not the only one who is allowed to take offense to something someone has said. Like I know I've probably done things that people have been like, I didn't really like that, and I would prefer them to come to me and tell me that, because I know that I probably didn't mean it that way, and I would love to have the opportunity to like fix my actions or my mistakes, instead of them just, you know, disappearing or getting upset with me, or, you know, worst of all, I hate it when people like talk bad about you behind your back and you don't even know what you've done.
That's like one of my, that just like puts like a discomfort like in my chest that I don't like. And it's like I noticed it in like obviously in college. I was in a sorority and I lived in a sorority house, and it's just like people that you and I get it's different levels, but like taking like just like excluding that. So I've just seen like different levels of interesting. I've seen cattiness and just a lot of different things, but it's like when you're like a group of friends and talking about someone that you're friends with within the same friend group, I'm like, it just like I try not to do it. Obviously, like sometimes it like happens, and it's like, but like I try to do the rule of thumb where it's like if I wouldn't say it to their face, I'm like if I wouldn't say it like to their face or like talk to them about it, maybe like change my tone a bit, but like I try not to like talk about it to someone else, especially if we're in the same friend group. Obviously, if you're venting and it's like, not saying that if you're not in the same friend group, it's okay, but like I mean, obviously you like vent to people, but I like actively. But when people are just like straight up like trash talking people within the same friend group, I'm like, are you actually?
But then like won't confront that person about it.
Right. Yeah.
They'll be like, I hate when this person does this. It's so annoying. Blah blah blah. But they'll act completely kind to their face and act like it's all okay.
Yeah.
That bothers me. Like I'm like, come on guys, a little healthy confrontation here, and this problem would go away.
Right.
So I do think that's something our generation struggles with, and I think just building healthy relationships, that's so important.
Yeah, and communication like makes like friendships stronger, and because like you want strong friendships because like then you'll have people to celebrate Galentine's Day.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that like girl friendships are so important. I don't know where I would be without my girl friendships.
Honestly, same.
I know, God bless them. But yeah, and I think that communication in girls' friendships are also so important because I feel like, I don't know, something I've noticed about a lot of guys, and I'm sure that this isn't like a ton of guys because I mean it's not like I hang out with a bunch of guys, but a lot of them are pretty straight up with each other. Like they something bothers each other, they're like, shut the fuck up, or like, don't do that again, and they're like, all right man, like they're very like straight up with each other, whereas girls are very like passive aggressive. Like they'll be like, and then just kind of like get quiet, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah, male friendships are interesting because they could have like a full-on fist fight and then be cool later, and I'm like, no,
they will go at each other's throats and then be fine in 10 minutes,
and I'm like, I don't understand that.
I guess we've been yapping for almost 40 minutes now. I hope everyone listening to this has a wonderful either Galentine's or Palentine's Day.
Palentine's, yeah.
And just remembers that friendships are so important in this life.
Yeah.
Cherish them, communicate with them, put in the work.
Yeah.
Remember to reach out.
Make it reciprocal. Don't always like make sure your cup is being filled, and also make sure you're filling other people's cups, because you don't want to just like take from someone's cup, and you also don't want to empty yours, you know.
Exactly.
So I just
queen shit right there.
I love that. Look at the name of the episode. Queen shit stuff.
Yeah,
actually no, like, or queen shit. Can we name that episode, or I don't know.
We can discuss.
We'll discuss.
Wait, you said something about Hose Day. You said.
Oh yeah, Hose Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, February 15th is Hose Day. Like, and that is the quote that inspires that. Roses are red, violets are blue. If he's busy on February 14th, the side chick is you.
So in short, happy Galentine's and Hose Day.
Yeah, happy Hose Day. You respect the hose.